everyone, Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters. So for this layout I'm using the gorgeous Cocoa Vanilla Midnight collection, and I have cut out some 3x3 inch squares. I'm just folding those to make smaller squares with little triangles. How do you explain what I'm doing? Folding the corners into the center as if you're starting to make a little chatterbox. And I'm going to lay these out sort of diagonally across the page to create a bit of dimensional interest and effect onto the page. It'll have quite a nice, you will be able to see the inside colour because I'm not completely squishing them flat, so you can see there already that you can sort of peek inside the colour. I'm not using a huge amount of the papers from the Midnight collection. Some of it is way too beautiful to cut into. So I've just cut the ones I had sort of doubles of. And I've also got a few 2x2 square photos. And I'm going to pop those around as well. I've got about 4 or 5 photos, but I'm not 100% sure at this stage how many of them I'm going to use. They are pictures of my little man. I created a breastfeeding box so that while I was feeding Tom, Jack could get this special box that he was only allowed to have during feeding time, that was full of games and toys and tricks and bits and bobs inside. And one of the things that were inside was stickers, and he just became obsessed with them. So each time I was feeding, he'd get one little sheet of these stickers. They were the same stickers on every sheet, but he didn't seem to mind. And this particular day, he decided that he was going to plaster them all over his face, and it was very funny. He put one on his ear, one on his head, one on his nose, one on his lips, and then he moved them to his eyes, so he said he couldn't see, and it was very silly and very funny. He then, of course, we couldn't be spared. He then started sticking them on me, and then even put a couple on his brother as well. So it was all a little bit funny and a little bit crazy. So I'm going to call this sticker. Well, what I first do is just write stickers, and then I continue on, because that's what I was going to call it, just stickers, because I think, that makes sense, and that's totally fine, and I like that. But then, once I finished laying out all these squares and having that all ready, I stuck all these down and then left it on my desk for a couple of days because I got busy and didn't have a chance to come back to it. And as I walked past it a couple of times, I decided I wasn't 100% happy with the title stickers, and I wasn't 100% happy with the layout. So I'm just sticking down the last couple now and just showing you how I do this to make sure, actually I think I'm up to the first ones, to make sure they're straight. So I don't have a T-square ruler, but it also wouldn't have been a huge amount of help on a diagonal layout anyway. So I'm just getting my normal ruler and lining that up as straight as I can, and then sticking down those first top 3. And I do use it for most of the rows. I then put it underneath the next row and so on and so forth. But once you've sort of got started, you can sort of eyeball it a little bit from there. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. You can sort of eyeball it a little bit from there, because if you've got ones around it that are already straight, you can just sort of line up the corners in the next row from then on. So I don't use the ruler for literally every single row, but I do use it for quite a few of them because I want to get it as relatively straight as I possibly can. I also pop up the photos with some dimension, with some foam, sticky foam, because otherwise I was worried they'd get a little bit lost in amongst the squares, because the squares themselves with their folded corners, they're a bit poppy and a bit sticking up also. So I wanted to make sure that the photos were still sort of front and center in and amongst everything else that's going on. It's not a hugely busy layout, but just by having all the pattern paper and all of the folds and everything like that, it becomes busy, if that makes sense. So this is where I left it, but as you can see, by magic, it's changed. So as I was walking past it over and over again, literally all I did was take off one square and move it right down the bottom, underneath, right there, underneath that photo there. And then I added the word fun. So it's actually sticker fun now, and I rather that, and I rather the look of how the photos, how the squares are hung out or laid out. I just think it looks a little bit better in that way. Before it looked a little bit too boxy, a little bit like one big square, which I didn't like. So I want to put this banner hanging up the top, but I'm not a fan of the bow. I feel like if you have the bow there, you need to, it looks a bit like the banner's hanging off into nowhere. So I'm going to cut the bow off, and I actually cut it off straight into my rubbish bin and stick that banner on. And then I think like 2 seconds later, yeah, I'm already digging back into my rubbish bin to get it back out again, because I decided that it could be useful on this layout, because I don't actually want that many embellishments on here. I've laid them all out over there to my left, but as I said, this layout wasn't that busy because it's really just pattern paper, but with the way the pattern papers are you know, folded and dimensional, and the colors and all that, there is quite a lot going on. So I want to keep the embellishing really quite to a minimum. So I'm using my Tombo's aqua glue and sticking these sort of two things in each spot. So that little top, that little bow, it's now a bow that was on the top of that chipboard piece, and then this phrase, sweetness, is it? I'm sticking that on there, and then I realized very quickly that's not going to work, so I just lay some scissors on there to sort of hold it in place. This glue dries really quickly, especially in the Australian weather we've got happening at the moment, so I'm not worried about it, but I'm just going to pop that there. And then I really liked that butterfly, just caught my eye sitting there. It was that dark blue, was the perfect colour to the blue that was happening within the squares, and also that other word up the top there, wonderful. I think that's what it says. That butterfly is from the exclusive cut apart sheet that comes in the Kitaholics kits for the month. This is actually, even though it is the Cocoa Vanilla Midnight Collection, this is actually one of the kits that I received from Kitaholics kits for the month of November. I think it was November's. And so now I'm just trying to decide what's going to be that last thing that I put up with that one word, because I still really want one more thing up there, but I just don't know what it's going to be. So luckily I have a cup of tea to distract me, because I'm just not sure what to put up there. I try a few different things, but nothing really works. Yeah, not happy with any of those, and I keep coming back to this round circle, but I know I don't need the whole circle, so I'm just going to cut it in half. I almost used the scissors I was using as a weight, and I'm just looking at which half I want. One half's got quite a lot of flowers, and one half's got mostly just leaves, and I think I'm going to go with the leafy part, because it's not a hugely flowery layout. So just sticking that on with double-sided tape, and then I will glue on the last word. And then I'm almost finished. I just am going to get some diamantes. So I've mentioned on one of my other videos that I'm trying to use up the diamantes and pearls and rhinestones and enamel dots and all those bits and pieces that don't have any packaging and keep falling off and making a big mess and getting stuck in the little box that I keep them in. So these are all pearls, all white pearls. I know you can't really see them, they're all just all over my desk, that I am determined I'm using every single one. There is not many. Having said that, there's about 7, but I'm putting them all on this layout because I'm determined to use these up. So now I am just popping on some gold Heidi Shine, just splattering it around my 3 clusters, my top cluster and my title. Just doing it super carefully so that I don't get it on my photos. But if you do, if you wipe it off straight away, it generally comes off. and then some coral Heidi Shine as well. Then I'm going to trim that little bottom corner and I am all done. So I hope you enjoyed this process video. It's quite a simple one for me, really quick and easy. Did not take, when I could actually sit down and scrap, did not take that long. So I hope you enjoy it. Please feel free to give it a try yourself. And please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Okay everyone, have a great day. Bye.